Oh, everybody, this is the gift that keeps on giving to those of us who talk pop culture for a living. Mike, Justin Baldoni has a new $400 million lawsuit against Blake, her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and their publicist.
I think that's the biggest key. Is in the past, we've heard about the lawsuit that he had, but that was, of course, against a publication. It was not against actually Blake, Ryan, and her publicist, where now we are seeing that official word right there. It was announced earlier today, and it is adding to yet another layer of what has been a remarkable story all around this It Ends With Us movie. But $400 million.
I can't. So we were talking about this before the show, and we're like, how are you coming up with this massive number? Like the $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times that you were just referring to, that he has with 10 other people that are signing on to that one. Yep. This is just him, though, and Wayfair Studios.
Yes.
So we're like, oh, because to him, this is his production company. His production company is involved in this. His production company is directly tied to his name, especially back, I don't know, 3 months ago, I would never have known Wayfair Studios and Justin Baldoni were one and the same. Never would have known that. But now we all know that, and he's going, and I think he's right. And when he says, hey, listen, $400 million is a lot of money, yes, but also think of all the money that you are taking away from me, hypothetically, in the future when people don't want to work with us now.
Yeah, not wanting to work. And then in this movie in particular, he alleges in this lawsuit that there was a campaign for him to lose control of the movie, a takeover strategy that took place. And he even calls out one Taylor Swift.
What?
That's actually why Brittany's not here today. She is online defending Taylor right now after this lawsuit been made official. We told her, take your time, do what you got to do.
Process.
But yeah, there was a moment. Now, this all pertains. You saw the movie, of course.
Yes.
I did not actually, but there was a rooftop scene. And I guess they worked on this rooftop scene. There was some back and forth about exactly how they wanted to execute it in the movie. And Blake did some rewrites. And how Justin describes this in the lawsuit is this was kind of a... he felt attacked. Like he showed up to their place and Ryan was there and was talking about these rewrites that Blake did. And then Taylor even showed up, Taylor Swift, and gave her 2 cents on it. And we actually got the text message exchange that happened following this. Now, let me just read part of this.
So good.
It is so great. So Blake Lively reached out and said, if you send me the facts, I'll work on it and I can steal moments. And yes, of course, please send it to Chrissy, this other individual as well. We're all on the same page with this goal. And he says, great. This is Justin Baldoni now. Great. Also, was working on the rooftop scene today. I really love what you did. It really does help a lot, makes it so much more fun and interesting. And then in a little quote or parentheses, he puts, and I would have felt that way even without Ryan and Taylor, with a smile and a winky emoji.
Okay. You did great even without them. It would have been great, but confirming they were there.
You really are a talent across the board, really excited and grateful to do this together. And her response was, that is very appreciated. That means a lot. I'm deeply inspired by the film we are going to make outside of the success of this book. We have such an opportunity to not only surprise people who love the book, but also reach an even bigger audience by making it an undeniably dynamic and also commercial film. So again, even in that text message, he was kind of like, you didn't need Ryan and Taylor to show up to help convince me that I was going to like these rewrites. Like, you did a good job by yourself.
Right. The more that comes out with this, listen, you can think, we will never know what actually happened as far as the sexual harassment allegations, right? We were not there.
Yeah.
We will see what a court of law thinks eventually, but we won't know, you and I, or any of us listening. But what we can say, I think objectively, is that she has not looked good from the minute she started putting out Betty Buzz on the red carpet. And then her hair care line that she says it was a coincidence that they came out at the same time. Okay. I don't think she looks good. She looks like a mean girl. Oh, look at who's my husband. Look what I've done. And you will bow or you will be screwed.
Bow or bend the knee because she literally referred to herself as Khaleesi from Game of Thrones.
This is wild. Do you have this pulled up? This is such a weird flex.
If you ever get her, this was another text message exchange that two of them had, and she was essentially just talking about them working together, and she says this, quote, "If you ever get around to watching Game of Thrones, you'll appreciate that I am Khaleesi. And like her, I happen to have a few dragons. For better or worse, but usually for better, because my dragons also protect those I fight for. So really, we all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. Smiley face, you will too, I can promise you."
Okay, so you read this, right? And you go, okay, if they were friends goofing around, you're like, yeah, what a fun, like, queen thing to say, right? Mm-hmm. But knowing what we know, you go, oh, what a very subtle, like, don't forget who I am, bitch.
And don't forget who my dragons are, a.k.a. Ryan, a.k.a. Taylor. Like, she's got some very high-powered, influential people in her corner, and she's making sure in that text message he's aware of it.
If you guys missed it too, yesterday we went on a deep dive into this, so we won't today. But just a reminder, this comes out just shortly after we had the situation that happened. Was it last night or the day before, where he went to Marvel and Disney and said, keep everything relating to the character of, is it Nice Pool?
Yep.
Yeah, because he thinks that this was a character based off of him to troll him, essentially, in the Deadpool Wolverine movies.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong when you watch it.
Yeah, you feel like certain quotes are too spot on to be just a coincidence. I will say he also mentions in these documents that were obtained here that she was, in his words, determined to make Baldoni the real-life villain in her story and essentially deflect from all that negative publicity she was getting for the tone-deaf media tour. And that is what you're referring to with the fact that her hair care line and her alcohol line both came out while she was promoting a film for domestic violence, or talking about domestic violence. So it's, wow. You just, 2 days ago, or like you said, yesterday, we had that story about the Marvel thing, and we're just like, our jaws dropped. Like, is this real life? And then all of a sudden, and I will say this has been something that, I often talk about the blind items and things like that, but it's been brewing for a while, and there's been a belief that Blake was on the offensive very early in this whole process, making sure that the PR spin would definitely go her way. And the blind items were always saying, just wait. Just wait. And his lawyer was even just saying, just wait. We got what we need. Just wait. And now this is what we were all waiting for, a $400 million lawsuit against not only Blake, but also Ryan and her publicists.
It's insane. I think, too, like, you read some of these articles and how Blake refused to promote the movie unless there were edits made her way. And he's like, okay, we need you. So like, okay, I guess we'll do that. Like, and to him, when we go back to that, the red carpet where the text messages came out where he said, like, I'm waiting in a basement with my family. I can't even be on the red carpet with my cast in what is supposed to be one of the biggest days of my career.
Yeah.
You think about that, and again, regardless of your opinion of them, you go, he's right. That would have, because before this, I wouldn't know who Justin Baldoni was before this movie. Like, I didn't watch Jane the Virgin, and I think a lot of people are in that camp. This was going to be his big movie as an actor and as a production company.
Yep.
Like, in that getting taken away, you'd be, and then getting sued, in your opinion, you'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, she just doesn't, I don't think she looks good.
He also alleges in this suit that she and her production, or her the publicist, that they were kind of trying to manipulate the rest of the cast of this movie, and picture and basically like turn the story around, turn the narrative around that was negative towards him. So, there's a reason why he's not walking the red carpet with us, all these negative things and just stacking things. And we did see Brandon Skellner, who of course was opposite of her, the other.
He played Atlas.
The good guy in the film. Yes. He was one of the quickest people to come to her defense and basically, say he's standing by Blake Lively the whole time. But you referenced this before we came on the air. If you're Brandon Skellner, who, with the exception of 1923, also hasn't done a ton of things, and you're saying, okay, side with this guy over here, who this was supposed to be his big come out, his big movie that was going to just help shoot him to superstardom. Or, Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Taylor Swift side of things.
Yeah, who was Hugh Jackman on the red carpet.
Hugh Jackman on the
Like, he's going to just show up and kind of give you hey, don't forget I'm here too.
Yeah, I think it's not a hard decision to make, but it's
not. It's ugly. You look at some of the things that he has said, and both of them have both said in their lawsuits that they've had death threats. Their families have been threatened. Like, this is at first, we all watched this and we're like, is this a PR stunt because they're supposed to not like each other in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this getting us to talk about it because people don't like the movie? Clearly, much more than that. So we'll probably talk about this again tomorrow. Like, let's be honest, there'll be another lawsuit tomorrow.
And they Blake Lively's people made that comment a week ago. They're like, this isn't a back and forth. You're going to see back and forth. You're going to see it play out in the media, but this isn't a back and forth. This is what happened from their perspective. Now we're getting what happened on his perspective. This is truly a back and forth. But the thing we got to remember is there might be, her version of this lawsuit, a counter lawsuit that drops tomorrow, and she comes with some receipts as well. So as we've always talked about, it's probably not one extreme. It's probably not the other extreme. It's probably somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. They're both very successful people. Successful people sometimes have to impose their will to make sure they're successful and surround themselves with the right people. And there's a very good chance that both of them were wrong when this is all said and done for various reasons.
Which is just so wild. And I think the thing that's been really interesting to watch play out is, we were talking to our boss, Dan Seaman, about this. Yeah. The shift in public opinion that has risen and fallen over the both of them throughout this. It first was Blake Lively's trash. I can't believe she's promoting this stuff. And this guy's so great. Justin Baldoni, because he's out there actually talking about domestic violence, and it ends with us. Mm-hmm. And then she sends the lawsuit out and you're like, he's a pig. What a terrible guy. Oh, we can't stand him. And then he comes back. It has been, and right now, the wave is pointing in his direction.
Exactly.
For how long?
We'll see.
God, this could be years.
We'll see what's next. Yeah.
Years.
It's gonna be interesting to follow.
Well, one Hollywood couple that just separated that we talked about. Oh God, it was only within the last week that they actually split up. Cash Warren and Jessica Alba. We knew that they were getting a divorce after 16 years of marriage. They have 3 kids together. It sounds like things are going as well and as smoothly as they can be. So there's no drama there necessarily. But just today, the 16th, Jessica Alba posted on Instagram. She said, "I've been on a journey of self-realization and transformation for years, both as an individual and in partnership with Cash. I'm proud of how we've grown in our marriage over the last 20 years, and it's now time for us to embark on a new chapter of growth and evolution as individuals. Blah, blah, blah. We love and respect each other. We request privacy," the typical stuff after that.
Yeah.
I think the more you read about this, the more you're like, he has said, and she has said, that she's been on a very spiritual journey over the last couple of years. Whatever that means to them, that has been going on. To me, that sounds like, hey, I've been raising 3 children. I've had this business. I've been married. I feel stuck. I want to find out what's next for me.
For sure.
That's just my projection of what that could be. And he just seems like he's just all right, cool. I don't know if I want to go on this ride with you. I don't think it's anything fishy or dramatic. This is your next door neighbor just is done with each other. They fizzled out.
Yeah. And the one thing we saw, I believe yesterday or a couple of days ago, is the spousal support. And there was a number being thrown around of $2 million annually. And everyone's like, oh, Cash Warren's looking for $2 million. You also have to, mind you, this is all in comparison to the fact that she's worth a ton. This isn't some, she hasn't done a ton from acting, but because of her businesses.
The Honest Company?
The Honest Company and the role that she plays in that. I mean, you never know on these celebrity net worth sites exactly where it's at. Mm-hmm. She's in the $500 million range. She's 200 million to 400 million range is where she probably is sitting. And, somebody who's going to be still that, from a spousal support standpoint, when you look at what she brings in a year and what they've been able to build while they have been together in those 16 years, I feel like the tabloids and some of the headlines were trying to spin that as they're trying to create drama where there isn't any. Right. Because based on the statement you just said, based on everything we've heard from the two of them, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of drama. Mm-hmm. And these articles that I'm reading about this $2 million annually, it's basically just saying, yeah, that's what he should be getting in spousal support, regardless of the fact that there was a prenuptial agreement.
Right.
So
it's funny, those celebrity net worth websites you mentioned. One time, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, a friend of mine was like, "Do you really make that much?" Cold call me. I was like, hello, good
Yeah.
to see you. What are you talking about? And she's like, do you really make that much? I was just searching these things and I put your name in. And it said that like, and this at the time I was like 25. I mean,
Yep.
I was broke. And like, they say you make about $450 a year, like $450,000 a year. I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, she's like, no, I know you know. But like, this is what this is saying. I'm like, girl, my apartment is so old, the actual refrigerator doesn't close without a spatula. Like, no. So, those websites, killer.
Yeah.
All right, this news broke in a very bizarre way. The Bachelor's Matt James and Rachel Kirkconnell, they have officially split after 4 years together. He posted a picture on Instagram, and all he said was this: Father God, give Rachel and I strength to mend our broken hearts. Give us peace about this decision to end our relationship that transcends worldly understanding. Blah, 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 blah. Amen, Lord. What?
When it comes to The Bachelor and Bachelor Nation, you're our girl.
I know.
I need to come to you to get this information. Now, I did get a text from my wife, Sarah. She sent me a message and she says, OMG, this is like Bachelor Nation's couple. Like, of all the couples, this is the one that people loved and adore more than any. Is that true? And what do you think happened?
I would argue that they're one of them for
Okay.
sure. The most recent couple.
Sure.
Because there's a few that are a little older that people love, but there's a couple, to Sarah's point, that people did love and that have also broken up since then.
Yeah.
These guys, this is the wild story. If you know nothing about The Bachelor, you will know a little bit about this. So Matt James was the Bachelor on one of the pandemic seasons.
Okay.
He had a group of girls. It was like the most that had ever applied to the show because he was a guy that people were really, really interested in.
Sure.
We knew about him even before he was on The Bachelor because his best friend was on the season before. And people were like, loved him so much, Tyler Cameron, and they just associated them together. Either way, it was a very exciting season. We needed some escapism.
Okay.
He gets it down to his final two. One of them, Michelle Young from here in Minnesota, was his number two.
That's right. Okay.
And this girl, Rachel Kirkconnell. During that final week, because it's airing, 5 months later, we find out that Rachel Kirkconnell, who ends up picking, was seen in some southern, like very southern, romanticizing the antebellum, like good old South photos and parties from her alma mater. She had liked photos of people she knew with the Confederate flag in the background. This girl's from the South.
Sure.
Matt James is black. And so people immediately are like, please tell me you don't pick this girl and you pick Michelle Young, who is also black, who is biracial. And she's like, and turns out he picks her. So in the media at the time, he can't say who he's picked, but this is blowing up. And he's like, I hope that she finds grace or something like that.
So at this point, he had already picked her.
He'd already picked her.
We just hadn't seen it yet.
Know.
Okay, got it.
But we had a good feeling he was going to pick her. Like the chemistry was there.
Got it.
So Chris Harrison, the then host of The Bachelor, the longtime host, goes on E! News and talks to Rachel Lindsay. She's a former Bachelorette. She is also black. And she's interviewing him like, hey, this doesn't look good. What do you guys have to say for this? You should have seen this. Like, you should have pulled her out of the competition before she was even in it. And Chris Harrison gives this kind of non-committal, like, well, Rachel, you just don't understand. We got to give this other Rachel time and grace. We need to be good to her. He's mansplaining, like, how black women or black men should feel to a black woman.
Yeah,
Chris Harrison's a white guy.
Yeah.
It does not look good.
This is the interview.
That is the interview.
This is the one that basically, bye-bye, Chris
ruined
Harrison.
him.
Yeah,
he's done after this. So they kick him out of the program. Like, Chris Harrison is gone. And it was this couple. She came out, and I will say, I think she handled it really well. She said, listen, there are things that are being misconstrued and over-evaluated, but there are things that I could do better that I didn't know and that I need to educate myself on, etc. They go on, they get together, they break up because all this comes out, so they've broken up now, end up getting back together later on that year.
Okay.
Have been together for 4 years ever since then. And like, we're just in the UK 36 hours ago sharing a pizza. So people are like, what happened from like sharing pizza via Lady and the Tramp to like this? Like, what is this? Very, very shocking. The funny thing is, the guy I mentioned at the very beginning, the friend of Matt James that people love.
Sure.
His name's Tyler Cameron. He seems to have never liked her, which is only something to say because he and Matt are not really that close anymore.
Okay.
And he's given several interviews where he's like, oh yeah, it's a love-hate relationship. I'm just kidding. That's good. Or like, Yeah, she's just she has a lot of strong opinions, and so do I. So sometimes we just don't see eye to eye. So people in like Bachelor world are going, who was right here? Like, who's wrong? I don't know, but they done.
Wow.
It's so dramatic.
And what's crazy is that if you read this response, or you read this post that he put out on Instagram, I believe, I mean, that's well thought out. If you would have told me it took them a couple of days to come to an agreement of how this is going to look, but now you're telling me that they were eating pizza 32 hours earlier?
Yeah.
Just hanging out? Like,
it's wild.
Something doesn't add up. There's got to be more to that story there because, again, if you read the statement, you can find it on his Instagram. It's says they jointly came to this decision and they wish each other the best, but at the same time, something's not clicking there because that is a very thought out statement.
And they never got engaged, which is big. They left the show as like, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay.
And they never got engaged, which that's where me thinks somebody wanted something and the other one didn't. And it finally the tea kettle was like, we're going off all alarms. We are boiling. One more thing in Bachelor universe that could be a breakup.
Okay.
Kelsey and Joey, the second most recent Bachelor, people really like him.
Okay.
She's been seen a lot recently without her engagement ring. And her response when people are like, why don't you have your engagement ring, is get very defensive and be like, we're still engaged. It's just a ring. Like, calm down, people. I'm sorry. How many times did you take off your engagement ring? Like,
not often. No.
Like,
never.
You know,
and
like.
Joey is the one who was just on Dancing with the Stars, right? And then Kelsey is the one whose dad was on The Golden Bachelor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to put those connective tissues together because I'm trying to remember all these people. Again, I'm trying to get into this universe, but okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like this is the typical case of doth do protest. Like, and this has happened. This isn't just one freakish time. Like, I, for example, did not wear my wedding ring today. I just got ready and forgot. I wasn't super famous, constantly not wearing it, and then getting really defensive about it.
And why don't you wait to respond until he's like right next to you? Like,
touche.
Be like, hey, it's Joey and I are right here. We're all good. I just forgot to put it on.
Like, look, we love each other.
It's all good.
We're fine.
Give a little smooch for TikTok. A little kiss of goodbye.
So we'll see.
We'll see. Wow. That's... Yikes. We got one more here before we wrap up today's Hot to Go. Wendy Williams back in the news once again. This time, though, I think for a very positive thing. She joined the Breakfast Club and did an interview and said she's not cognitively impaired.
I'm sorry. She did an interview, number one.
She did an interview, number one. And based on everything you heard from this interview, and I listened to a nice chunk of it, she seems good.
That is such a different narrative than we've been fed for 2 years.
Correct. And that leaves open the door of, okay, who and what has been happening around her, these people that are, controlling her or taking care of her, however you want to look at it.
Taking care of her wallet.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing about this. Williams was calling into the show because she was, quote, trapped in a conservatorship and could not leave. She said she felt like she was in a prison with people that she shouldn't have been in this facility with and in this prison with, is how she referred to it.
Why does this sound so familiar?
Yeah, it's funny. And her niece even called in and backed her up on some of these things. So I don't know. This was a shocking development. Again, now we did see her out and about. She was, I don't remember.
At her son's graduation.
Exactly. That's where it was. And someone, paparazzi, walked up to her and started asking her questions. She was sitting in the back of an SUV and she was just carrying on, having a conversation. Everything's all good. Now, again, this is after we've been told about how terrible her health is and how much of a decline she's been on and all these different struggles, because she does have some struggles she's going through. Yes, 100%. She's got the frontotemporal
is it aphasia?
Dementia, I think, is what aphasia. There's a few different
yes,
things that she's dealing with, and of course she's dealt with drug and alcohol issues in her past too. So it's just something's not adding up. And again, this is the first time we've heard her just call into a show and be like, "Hey guys, I'm good. I need out of this."
My mind is blown because that's such a different narrative than even like a month ago we were hearing about her. Yeah. How she was like completely unable to take care of herself.
Correct.
That was, and we were like, oh, that's so sad. That's such a bummer because disease does that. Like it can 100%. Progress really, really quickly. How are we supposed to know? Then she's like, no, I'm good. Okay.
Wild.
Oh, well, hey, subscribe, comment, follow us here on YouTube for Hot to Go. We appreciate you.